the end of May. I think I found your channel about 2 weeks into studying, and I was just trying to get a better understanding of like necessary and sufficient assumptions. And then I liked your channel, the content on it, end up subscribing to your membership for a few months. And really from there, I heard like the typical, oh, you can only improve like, or most people improve about 10 points. But after joining your course, within about a month, I saw like a 10-point increase right off the bat. And obviously I was expecting to study a lot longer than a month. So not only taking your course and then just speaking with you, you really opened my eyes to that 10 points is like bare minimum and I can really achieve a lot more. So from that point, I really set the bar a lot higher just from the quick improvement I saw from joining your course and the early on studying, building a foundation.
Well, thanks for sharing that. You had an incredible increase. So kudos to you on that. You want to just recap exactly what the numbers were, the starting point, the middle, the end?
Sure, of course. So my first diagnostic was a 151. I took my first LSAT official LSAT in October, and then I got a 169. And then in November, I got a 176.
That's insane.
Yes.
176. That is within a fraction of the top 1% of test takers. So that's an amazing score. And you mentioned, of course, joining the course and the membership. What would you say is the biggest insight you got from the course, from working through the material and such?
Really just like a stronger understanding of a lot of the logical reasoning questions. When I first joined, I understood most of them, but not to the extent that I do now. And then by the time I was done with your course, I really had an understanding to the point where I was able to explain it to others to an extent. And really, like, it was almost like natural, like just reading some of the questions, being able to prephrase what the question was going to be. And then even after reading the question, after reading the stimulus, being able to almost predict like a lot of the answer choices depending on the question, that sort of thing. So just a lot of strides in terms of logical reasoning, and then just really have a better overall like grasp and like strategy in terms of going into the exam and like how to just go about each question type and whatnot. So
I think the prephrasing is really interesting because that indicates that you took on the challenge of the exam enough that you absorbed a lot of the types of methods of reasoning they were using, and you could anticipate what was going to happen next.
Right. When you first, at least when I first began your course, I remember you kept on reiterating, like seeing the patterns in the exam and that sort of thing. And I mean, I just kind of like trusted that at one point I would get there, but I never really understood what you meant. And then it just started clicking almost, and I was able to be like, okay, this is going to be like emotionally supported or main conclusion, just depending on like what the stimulus contained and that sort of thing. And just it really like over time, it just sort of naturally started kicking in and being able to predict like what was going to come out of the question and whatnot. So
that's incredible. How many hours would you say you put in over that period between, I guess it was May through November?
Yeah. The beginning, I remember like the first like month, I was like just the foundation part. The first few weeks at least was like probably like 40 hours a week off that. And then I probably like once I got to doing like practice tests. So after like a month and a half, I probably toned it down to like 25 to 35 a week. Just because like you kept on mentioning not to burn out, and I even experienced that for like a couple of weeks. I got like a little sick during part of it. So 25, 35 hours is probably like a good majority of the, like a 25, 35 hours a week for a good majority of the like 5-6 month span. And then just most of what I was doing is really just doing practice tests one day and then the next day reviewing them and that sort of thing, doing like 2 or 3 a week. So
was that difficult to put in that time? That sounds like a pretty grueling schedule for a lot of people.
I had a pretty clear schedule just during the pandemic and whatnot. But I really like took it to heart what you said in terms of a thorough review process. And that really helped me understand and make strides, especially in like reading comprehension. Because if you're just, from my understanding at least, if you're not like really thoroughly like going back and reviewing like the questions you get wrong, especially in like reading comp, like doing that for like reading comp and then logical reasoning too, for the most part. But like I was able to really see like where they were pulling the answers from, and then like where did they get that inference from and that sort of thing. And like it really helped me understand too, like that like the main conclusion could have like parts from the very first sentence all the way up to the very last sentence of the passage, and just all the different question types and where they pull the answers from, that sort of thing, with like reading comp. So just the emphasis on like a heavy review process was essential.
Yeah, review is definitely the key, as I'm saying. all the time. I want to shift gears a little bit, Zach, and ask you about the retake process, because you took it in October. You got a 167?
169.
169, even better. And you decided to still, despite that, retake in November to go that much higher. And it ended up being worthwhile, of course. You went all the way up to 176. Why didn't you leave it at the 169?
I kind of had the mindset that LSAC already had my money. I had to sign up before I even knew my score for October. On top of that too, so let's say, like, I feel like you mentioned this a lot too, like they really only care about your highest score. 169 was like right in line with like my average of like most recent practice tests. I think like the highest I ever got was like a 174, and I was like 169 was like right in line. And I had the mentality, I was like, okay, if I get a few points lower, like a 165, I don't think really schools were going to hold it against me. But if I get a 172, that can open so many more doors. And it was, I think you mentioned this multiple times too, and it made entire sense. What's like a few more weeks of studying? Like I think it was like a week off after October. And then I took it like one of the very first few days of November of like the flex week. So it was like 2-3 more weeks of just reinforcing what I already had in my head. So it was kind of like a no-brainer, honestly, and I couldn't get a refund anyway for it. So, but it ended up paying off, like you said. Yeah,
big time, 176. Definitely a huge increase there in a short time. So I have to ask you now, what's next for you? What do you have in mind in terms of schools you might be applying to?
So I really wanted the dust to settle with the pandemic and everything, and it's looking optimistic at least. But I'm actually holding off to apply until the fall of 2021 for the fall of 2022, and just really making sure I have all my application elements really sound and everything, and just fine tuning that. And then I'm gonna begin a like legal internship the beginning of the summer, like almost the end of the spring. So gain some experience, kind of like let the dust settle with the pandemic, see like what's going on with law school and everything in terms of like online versus in person. I really wanted to do in-person law school too, and I want that to be like more solidified going into the application process. And I also too, well, this was my mindset at least before I got like the 176, but I also wanted to apply like towards the more beginning of the cycle. But obviously the 176 kind of like changes that element of that at least. But that was just my mentality. Like there's no rush to apply to law school, in my opinion. So
yeah, agreed. I mean, you apply with a 176 and you apply at the beginning of the cycle. I mean, the world's your oyster. You could apply to any school and have a reasonable shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's very exciting. Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah, of course. Well, I appreciate you so much coming on and sharing your advice with everyone. Anything else you want to share? Any pearls of wisdom you want to share with those studying now before we wrap up?
I mean, I feel like it's just a lot of the things that you reiterated and kind of just preached to me, and I guess just passing on. But I guess just really having a strong foundation before you get into practice tests, and having a strong understanding of like the questions and what they're asking, and just making sure you're doing the basics right before you even get into practice tests, I guess. And then, like you said, just doing the foundation and then understanding the question, and then before you even get into like your timing and everything. So
I really appreciate you coming on again, Zach. Please keep in touch and let me know if you need anything moving forward. And of course, when you submit your apps.
Sounds good. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And do feel free, by the way, send over your application essays, and I can do them in one of the course workshops. I can bring them into the course workshop, and you can get feedback from me and others in that context too. I'm happy to look at any of the essays you submit.
Sure, that'd be awesome. I found the ones that I did have critiqued earlier on like very helpful, so that would definitely be of interest.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, keep in touch. And again, I'm really excited for you. I think applying at the beginning of next cycle is going to give you a lot of options and a lot of scholarship money as well.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Yeah, of course. Take it easy, Zach. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.